The stolen German Panther that outperformed every British tank. In 1944, British soldiers did something almost unbelievable. They captured one of Nazi Germany's most feared tanks, the powerful Panther. Instead of destroying it, they repaired it, painted British markings on it, and drove it into battle against the Germans. What happened next shocked everyone. This stolen tank, nicknamed Cuckoo, outperformed nearly every British tank fighting beside it. This is the incredible true story of the German Panther that switched sides in World War II. By 1944, the Allies had landed in Normandy. The beaches had been secured, but the battle for France was far from over. British and Canadian forces were pushing through thick hedgerows and heavily defended villages. And in this brutal fighting, they encountered one of Germany's deadliest weapons, the Panther tank. Officially designated the Panzerkampfwagen 5 Panther, it was introduced by Germany in 1943. It had been designed as a direct response to the Soviet T-34. German engineers combined powerful armor, excellent mobility, and a devastating main gun. The result was one of the finest tanks of World War II. Its 75mm KWK 42 gun could destroy Allied tanks at ranges where many Allied guns could barely penetrate. Its sloped frontal armor was extremely effective, and despite weighing around 45 tons, it remained fast and agile. To British crews, the Panther was a nightmare. Many British tanks in Normandy were Sherman variants armed with 75mm guns. These were reliable and versatile, but they struggled against Panthers from the front. The Churchill infantry tank had heavy armor, but was slow. The Cromwell cruiser tank was fast but lightly protected. The Firefly, armed with the powerful 17-pounder gun, was capable of defeating Panthers. But Fireflies were relatively scarce. In many units, there was only one Firefly for every 4 Shermans. That meant most British tank crews were outgunned. Whenever Panthers appeared, tension spread instantly. The German tank often fired first, and the first shot was often deadly. In late July 1944, British forces launched Operation Bluecoat. The goal was to exploit German weakness after the American breakout in the West. British troops advanced through Normandy's rolling countryside toward strategic high ground. Among the attacking formations was the 4th Battalion, Coldstream Guards, part of the elite Guards Armoured Division. The Coldstream Guards were experienced, disciplined, and determined. Their tank crews were accustomed to difficult fighting, but they were still equipped mostly with Sherman tanks. On August 2, 1944, near the village of Les Loges in Normandy, the battalion encountered fierce German resistance. German Panther tanks from the 2nd SS Panzer Division were operating in the area. During the fighting, one Panther was abandoned by its crew. The reasons remain uncertain. It may have been disabled. It may have suffered a mechanical problem. Its crew may have been forced to retreat suddenly. Whatever happened, the tank was left behind, and remarkably, it was still largely intact. Most units would have destroyed the abandoned tank. After all, it was enemy equipment, it was complex. It used different ammunition, its controls were unfamiliar. And if German forces recaptured it, they could use it again. But Lieutenant Philip Skip Withers saw an extraordinary opportunity. Withers was an officer in the Coldstream Guards. He understood exactly what stood before him. This was not just a captured vehicle, it was one of the best tanks in the world. He decided the battalion should keep it. The idea was daring. British mechanics would have to inspect and repair the Panther. Crews would need to learn how to operate German controls. The unit would need access to German ammunition, and the tank would have to be clearly marked to prevent friendly fire. But the Coldstream Guards were not ordinary soldiers. They accepted the challenge. The captured Panther was towed to British lines. Mechanical crews went to work. They carefully examined the engine, transmission, and gun systems. The Panther was notoriously complex. German crews respected its combat power but often complained about mechanical problems. Its final drives were particularly vulnerable, yet this particular Panther was in surprisingly good condition. British mechanics repaired the damage. They cleaned the interior. They studied the controls. They learned how to start the engine. They familiarized themselves with German instrumentation. Soon, the engine roared back to life. The captured Panther was operational. The British gave it a nickname, Cuckoo. The name was fitting. Like the bird that lays its eggs in another bird's nest, this German machine would now serve in British ranks. Operating an enemy tank was extremely dangerous. At a distance, Cuckoo looked exactly like a German Panther. Allied aircraft might attack it, British anti-tank guns might fire at it, friendly tanks could mistake it for an enemy. To reduce the risk, the Coldstream Guards painted large Allied recognition markings on the tank. Prominent white stars were added, British tactical markings were applied. Some accounts mention brightly coloured panels to help aircraft identify it. Even so, every mission carried enormous risk. The crew knew that one mistake by a nervous ally could be fatal. Driving the Panther was very different from driving a Sherman. Its controls were unfamiliar, its gearbox required skill. The turret systems were different. The gun sight used German optics, which were among the best in the world. British crews were impressed by the Panther's precision. The optics were exceptionally clear. Target acquisition was faster. Long-range accuracy was outstanding. The gun itself was devastating. The high-velocity 75mm rounds could penetrate most Allied and German tanks with ease. For the first time, some British crews felt they had a tank superior to what the enemy was using, because it was the same tank the enemy feared and respected. Once Cuckoo was operational, it joined active operations. This was not a museum piece. It was a front-line fighting vehicle. The Panther served with the 4th Battalion Coldstream Guards during the advance from Normandy toward Belgium. It participated in combat for several weeks. During this time, the British crew used the tank for both offensive and defensive missions. Its powerful gun gave them confidence. Its thick frontal armor offered protection that most British tanks lacked. And its psychological effect was enormous. German soldiers who saw a Panther silhouette might hesitate. Then they would realize too late that this Panther was firing at them. Why did this captured Panther outperform the British tanks beside it? The answer lies in 3 critical advantages. 1. Superior armor. The Panther's frontal armor was heavily sloped. This design increased effective thickness and caused many incoming rounds to ricochet. Compared with the flat armor on many Allied tanks, the Panther was far harder to penetrate from the front. 2. Exceptional firepower. The 75mm KWK-42 was one of the most effective tank guns of the war. Its high muzzle velocity gave it excellent penetration and accuracy. At long range, it was lethal. 3. Outstanding optics. German optical equipment was world-class. Clear magnification and precise reticles allowed crews to identify and engage targets quickly. These 3 features made the Panther one of the most formidable tanks of World War II. When British crews used Cuckoo, they experienced these advantages firsthand. The Sherman was reliable, easy to maintain, and mechanically dependable. But most versions had thinner armor and weaker guns. Churchill. The Churchill excelled in rough terrain and had strong armor, but it was slower and generally less effective in tank versus tank combat. Cromwell. The Cromwell was fast but comparatively lightly armored. Sherman Firefly. The Firefly's 17-pounder was extremely powerful. However, the vehicle retained the Sherman hull and its associated vulnerabilities. In many respects, Cuckoo combined strong armor, mobility, and firepower in a way few British tanks could match. Using Cuckoo was not easy. It required German ammunition. British units had to search battlefields and capture depots for compatible rounds. Spare parts were another problem. If a component failed, replacements were almost impossible to obtain. Fuel requirements were also significant, and mechanics had to rely on ingenuity rather than manuals. Every day, Cuckoo remained operational was a testament to the skill of the maintenance crews. British soldiers were fascinated by Cuckoo. Some admired its engineering. Others appreciated its combat performance. Many recognized that they were driving a machine normally associated with fear and destruction. There was also a sense of pride. They had turned a symbol of German strength into a British weapon. The captured Panther became a morale booster. It proved that the enemy's best technology could be used against them. Cuckoo had an impact beyond its technical performance. For British troops, it represented ingenuity and boldness. For German troops, it created confusion. A familiar silhouette was now part of the opposing force. In combat, hesitation can be deadly. Even a few seconds of uncertainty could change the outcome of an engagement. After the breakout from Normandy, Allied forces surged across France and into Belgium. The Guards' Armoured Division played a major role in this advance. Cuckoo continued serving during this period. It covered long distances. It accompanied other tanks and armoured vehicles, and it remained one of the most unusual vehicles in Allied service. Few enemy tanks captured in battle were ever repaired and returned to combat. Even fewer served successfully for weeks. Eventually, mechanical wear and logistical difficulties caught up with the tank. The exact circumstances of its final retirement are not fully documented, but maintaining a single captured Panther deep in Allied territory was increasingly impractical. Without a supply chain for parts and ammunition, continued service became unsustainable. Cuckoo was eventually withdrawn. Its active combat career ended, but its story had already become legendary. Historians continue to debate which tank was the best of World War II. The Panther had exceptional battlefield performance, but it was expensive, mechanically complex, and resource-intensive. The Sherman was less powerful, but far easier to produce and maintain. Strategically, reliability and numbers often mattered more than raw performance. Tactically, however, the Panther was one of the most effective tanks of the war. The British crew of Cuckoo experienced this reality directly. The story of Cuckoo is about more than a tank. It is about adaptability. It is about soldiers recognizing opportunity in the middle of war. It is about mechanics who mastered an enemy machine, and it is about a crew willing to take extraordinary risks. Rather than simply destroying the captured Panther, they transformed it into one of the most powerful vehicles in their unit. That decision demonstrated creativity, courage, and technical skill. Cuckoo remains one of the most famous captured vehicles used by Allied forces during World War II. Photographs of the tank survive. Military historians continue to study its service. Its story is frequently cited as an example of battlefield improvisation. The Coldstream Guards earned lasting recognition for their initiative. Their captured Panther stands as a symbol of turning enemy strength into advantage. Over time, the story of Cuckoo has inspired many dramatic retellings. Some accounts exaggerate the number of tanks it destroyed, others portray it as invincible. The historical record is more measured. What is certain is this: a Panther was captured by the 4th Battalion Coldstream Guards. It was repaired and nicknamed Cuckoo. It served operationally for several weeks. British crews considered it highly effective. These facts alone make it one of the most remarkable armoured stories of the war. Using Cuckoo gave British crews first-hand insight into German engineering. They saw the strengths of sloped armour. They experienced superior optics. They used a highly effective anti-tank gun. This practical knowledge reinforced lessons already influencing post-war tank development. Many future tanks incorporated similar concepts. Today, Cuckoo is remembered as one of the most extraordinary captured tanks in military history. It began as a feared German weapon. It became a British asset. And it demonstrated that ingenuity can be as powerful as firepower. Among the Shermans and Churchills of 1944, this stolen Panther offered something rare. A decisive battlefield advantage. For a brief period, British soldiers fought inside the very machine they once dreaded. And by all accounts, it outperformed nearly every British tank beside it. In the chaos of Normandy, a group of British soldiers made a daring decision. They captured one of Germany's finest tanks. They repaired it, they repainted it, and they turned it against the enemy. The Panther, called Cuckoo, was more than a trophy. It was proof that bold thinking can change the battlefield. A stolen tank, a new identity, and one of the most fascinating true stories of World War II. If you enjoyed this true story from World War II, subscribe for more epic history videos, legendary battles, and untold military stories. Because history is full of moments that seem impossible. Yet they really happened.